Well, good evening, my dear brothers and sisters across Africa and our global society. I'd like to bring you greetings from Liberia. My name is D. Kafina Segnetu, and I'm part of the People's Talk Show. Actually, the People's Talk Show is a part and parcel of the People's News Africa, and the People's News Africa is that platform that brings you information relative to Africa's growth, our development. It is a platform where we endeavor to teach you Africa history, our culture, our politics, our inheritance, and to raise the pride of Africa. So it's by no mistake that you have chosen to join us today as we will be looking into a very important discussion that we believe will cut across the minds of Africans in Africa and across our global society. Uh, to make this discussion very, very successful, I have with me in studio distinguished colleagues of mine, and they will have in the next few minutes the opportunity to introduce themselves. But before we do so, I would like to bring to your attention that in recent times we have witnessed the United States of America election, and we saw the way the election proceeded. And leaders across our global society, including Africa, has made major steps forward in congratulating the forthcoming president-elect Joseph Biden and Kamala Harris. So Africans leader the same by congratulating these leaders. Okay, but again, there is also a wild hopes and expectations from amongst African leaders about what exactly the relationship between Africa and the US will be like. So, to make this discussion very helpful, we have chosen to focus on exploring that particular question as to what is the future of the relationship between Africa and the US, or how is the forthcoming regime is expected to cement a very fruitful relationship between Africa and the US. So we're going to tap into the knowledge and experience of our distinguished colleagues here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take this time to once again welcome you. But before we go strictly into the discussion, I would like to give each of you 1 minute to briefly introduce yourself once again, even though our dear listening audience are quite familiar with you guys. Starting with Kabbalah, and Kujo, Kwajo, and then Isopa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kafina. It's a pleasure to be in this platform again, as it's always been, where we are inspiring our people, where we share information, where we share the knowledge that can obviously uplift the level of understanding of our people in terms of geopolitics, in terms of African reality overall. My name is Kabbalah from originally DR Congo, but based right now in South Africa. I'm an Afrocentrist. I'm a member of ACUP, which is the African Continental Unity Party, and I'm an author of one book already, Expropriation of the Mind Without Compensation, and I'm a community developer. And I'm glad to be here once again. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Kujo, a Ghanaian. I am glad to be with you. Such an awesome panel. And I'm also thankful for our audience that also partake, within our discussion and all their contribution. And we hope today will be another meaningful discussion too. Thank you very much.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Isokman. I'm Nigerian, currently based in Germany. I've been a member of this platform for a while now, and is a place which I believe is designed to bring awareness to various problems that face the African continent. And I'll be pleased to share whatever knowledge and understanding of governance, leadership, in every aspect and areas of where Africans are lacking behind. be part of sharing light on that and educating the people on what can be and what is possible. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Look forward to further discussion today.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for this very short introduction. Once again, my name is D. Kafina Seyinentu, and I'm speaking to you from Liberia. And as I said in my opening statement, that our leaders across Africa have started congratulating the president-elect, President Joe Biden, and his vice president. Okay, so for me, I think this is very important that we look into these discussions because many leaders are expressing hope that this will be a completely different turnaround for Africa, especially looking at international relations between Africa and that of the US. So I would just like to begin with you quickly, Isopan, to tell us briefly what do you think the Biden forthcoming regime is going to mean for Africa?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kafina. Why should we, in the first place, be expecting something from another government? We do not live on handouts. We're African, the greatest, the most blessed continent in the world. It's the lack of leadership that gives us the notion of waiting for ideas and policies from a country like America. I don't see Americans waiting for ideas or policy to come out of Africa before they make their own policy on how they want to govern themselves or move forward in life. It is a shame in one part. Of course, we live in a global community where working together is very, how will I say it now, is very accepted and is a good thing if we are working together. You see me repeat that word, if we are working together, not we serving the ideas or nurturing the ideas of the American government. That is no longer working together. That is like we are serving a master. So they lay down policies and we follow up how we can benefit from it. We should be asking ourselves, what are the Americans benefiting from us? Because we have the cards. If we live in a continent where our leaders knows exactly what they're doing, we should be the continent that everyone runs to. Because on the other hand, we are the ones who have the resources and the geniuses that the world needs. When you talk of brilliant minds, when you talk of natural resources, when you talk of vast acres of lands, Africa is extremely blessed. So it's a pity when we're always waiting like, who's coming into office in America? Who's going to be the next president? What can the next president do for us? Why are we waiting for another man in his own country to get into office and then tell us what he can do for us? Are we handicapped? Are we sick? Don't we have our own brain and mind to think and plan for ourselves? We have to do away with this mentality of always. There was it Quadro or so? I think I saw that on the net. Someone showed a lot of about 13 picture poses of African leaders in the midst of various international leaders. When they visit China, you see the China president standing, and all African leaders of the 54 states are surrounding him. When it's Macron from France, when it's Angela Merkel from Germany, or Boris Johnson from Britain, or Donald Trump from America, is always one word president summarizing the 54 states of Africa And I think that is embarrassing on its own. So I think we should stand up to ourselves and take pride in who we are, stand our ground, make policy as it benefits us and our people. And that way we can hold our head up high in the international community. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Isopan. You stressed a very key word that has to do with leadership that subsequently at the land of the discussion, I would like to devote a little time to and see how we explore that further. Okay, and you raised a couple of questions as to why is it should we endeavor to strengthen or to foster relationship between the U.S. and that of Africa. And I would like to Tito, or send that same question to Kabbalah. Why should Africa seek to strengthen the relationship between Africa and that of the US?
Thank you so much, Mr. Kafina. One reason, there might be different reasons, a lot of them, but one fundamental reason why Africa is eagerly trying to strengthen its relationship with not just America, but also with European Union, with the China even, and with the other countries like Russia. It's because African people, African leaders are still seeking legitimacy, not on the people who elected them, but mostly on the international powers, on the foreign powers, to be more precise, because there's nothing about international. Thus, it's a matter of fact, when we are having elections in our countries, you will see that mostly we invite people from, for example, European Union to come and monitor our elections. And after that, they will give their own observation of the election. And mostly when they say, after, in terms of their observation, if they say that this election was not credible, you will see that most of African people turn to align themselves with the observation of the so-called international observers. So in ourselves, we are still feeling that we are not having legitimacy in looking at ourselves, building our institutions and believing in what we do without seeking any kind of backup from America, from Europe, or from China, as we're speaking of today. That's a fundamental reason why African people are trying to strengthen their relationships with, particularly, America, as we're speaking about America today. And one of the reasons, as I said, it's because we feel like ourselves, we can't go. We should always be surrounded by other people, and in particular by America, because it's one of the powerful country in the world. You know, you can remember as we used to be kids when we would play, for example, soccer. If we have to choose in which team are we supposed to play, we always go to the team that is winning. So we always want to belong to that team. I mean, that's exactly the same thing that is happening in Africa today. So they will want to always to be in relationship. And the reason why there have been a lot of messages for congratulating, obviously, the upcoming president of America, elected president of America, Joe Biden, is because that for the past 4 years of the Trump regime, African countries somehow felt distant from the American, from America, from the United States government or establishment. Because one thing that you could see is that Donald Trump never traveled in Africa, never invited many African presidents to United States. He was not even willing to have any kind of relationship with him and African people. Unless on specific occasions where he invited some head of state to America in order to give them instructions. As just recently, he forced Morocco to acknowledge Israel, to obviously rebuild its relationship with Israel. In exchange, America acknowledged Morocco as the superpower in that part of Middle East, in the deserts part of the. So you can see that this is one of the things that people do in order to be in relationship with America, in order to get some kind of favoritism from American, the establishment or government in terms of security, in terms of which is not true, which is not really security, because it's kind of illusion of security, because in reality it's American system, American military system that puts the world in danger, not in security. So we are going there because we think that we will be secure being in relationship with America. Secondly, you have to see that all the world transactions is done with American dollars. So once you are sanctioned by by the American system, it means you cannot do your transaction anymore with the US dollars. It becomes difficult for you to trade. It's the same thing that is exactly something that is happening right now with Iran. The sanctions, the most effect part of the sanction that are imposed on Iran is because of exactly the transaction that it cannot do with American US dollars. So those are kind of reasons that that push African people to be always willing to be in relationship with America or the United States of America. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kabbalah. You stressed some interesting issues also that at the end of the discussion today, or before the discussion comes to an end, we are expected to look into that. But something that pokes to me as you were talking alone was the issue of Africa seeking a level of acceptance and wanting to legitimize our system of governance and want to rub shoulder with the power that be and all those kinds of stuff. Okay, but we will go further into that. And then I come to you now, Kujo. Africa is far too ahead of the US in many respects. Africa has had two female presidents. We have had a lot of females who have served as defense ministers. We have had females who have served as vice president. Okay, and I think like in 200 and some 40 years or so, it is the first time that the US is putting out the first female vice president. So I think in many ways we are somehow ahead of Africa in different areas. I mean, we are ahead of the US in different areas. Okay, and those are the issues sometimes that they tend to raise, like gender promotion or gender balances, gender inclusion, and all those kinds of stuff. So those basic tenets of democracy that has been preached by the United States. Unfortunately, we hardly see some of them manifesting in the society there, which is something that is shocking. But why should we expect anything new from this particular administration? I think it's Yusuf and who or Kwaju, Kabbalah, one of you talk about uh, how Donald Trump view Africa. I remember sometimes back how he referred to Africa and all of that. And the United States policy is something that is fixed. Foreign policy is something that is fixed. Okay, regardless of who you are, you cannot change it overnight. So why must we expect anything new from the forthcoming regime?
Thank you very much. Um, to expect is, I wouldn't put it to expect something new, because what we have to understand is everything that's going on is politics. And the way politics is played is, if I'm giving you something, you have to be able to give me something in return. If I give you something and I'm not getting something in return, that means it's not politics. That means I rule over you. Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying that because if we all remember, when Trump came into power, he banned Muslim countries. And one of those Muslim countries was what? Was Sudan, right? It was good for his policies and his popularity and to intrigue his base. So he banned Sudan. But recently, when he made a deal with Israel to legitimize Israel and move the capital to the new capital, what did Sudan do? Sudan backed him, so Sudan now became the friend of the president. Like I'm telling you, it is politics. If I have something to give you and you are not giving me something, it is not, then I rule over you. Because if I give you something and I'm not receiving anything in return, then I rule over you. But if I'm getting something in return, it becomes politics. And that's how politics is played. If African leaders are waiting to expect something from America, that is, I would say that is very sad. And I hope, like I'm saying, I hope no leader of Africa is expecting. But this is what I will say. If we are expecting to deal with them differently, then that is good. Because in this global age, no country is isolated. There are certain things you have and certain things you need that you don't have. So definitely there are opportunities to trade among each other, to have bilateral trade. And right now, whether you like it or not, United States is the greatest country on earth. It is the richest country on earth, most powerful country on earth. Why am I saying that? Because of everything that we all know. The economy, their money, that it is internationally used, and whatever institution or whatever program that they set almost certainly affect every other nation. So if we are expecting to deal with them, to have a bilateral commercial trade with them, I think it's a good thing, because at the end of the day, there can be trade within technology that will help. There can be trade within commerce that will help. There can be trade, even political trade, that will help. But if we expect something from them, that means we don't have anything to give them but to receive. That is where I don't like. That is where I fall back and say, no, that is not right. So at the end of the day, like I put in the beginning, when he banned the Muslim country, Sudan was part of it. But when Sudan supported his policy for the Israelites, Sudan became his friend. And then he was saying he was mentioning Sudan in almost all his speeches. At the end of the day, we have to make sure we have something that they want and that we can trade. Hand go, hand come. If that is not there, but we sit back with our arms folded and expect them to give us something, expect them to give us what we don't have, that is sad. That is what I'm not looking at. Now, at the end of the day, our leaders must be able to understand that we have to trade. We have to be able to understand and know that our willpower and our conscience and our legitimacy is based on the way we deal with these people. Because at the end of the day, if we go there begging, then we become what they think we are. But if we want to, dismantle that ideology, then we have to be able to stand up and say, okay, even though there is a new presidency coming up, we can do for ourselves and we can go in a bilateral trade with this country. Why? Because this country is doing great. There is this adage in my country that if you want to fly like an eagle, you don't mingle with chicken. America is a superpower. They have the economy, they have the power, they have the money, they have everything, they have the technology. Now, if I'm an African country and I want to do great, I have to first of all do for myself. I do understand that. As a matter of fact, I like that kind of thinking of the current president, Trump. He was like, okay, it's America. And then after America, every other country. I want my president to think like that. I want the Ghanaian president to think like that. It is Ghana first, and then every other country, which means we have to seek what we want first. produce for us first, and then we think of other countries. If that is what we are doing, I love that. I want my president to do that. But I don't want us to sit back and then look up onto them that, hey, produce this for us, provide this for us, produce this for us. That is where I feel sad about, the whole question. Because this change of regime, even though the relationship, when I say relationship, I'm talking about, people relationship with respect to the head of this administration will be better. I don't think any other thing will be better. But if we do for ourselves what we have to have done so many years ago for ourselves, all right? Trump led by the power of the American people or the country. But Biden always talk about we are going to lead by the power of our leadership, which means he will bring other countries along with him and then they lead. But Trump was not like that. He led by the power of his country. And no doubt, United States is the most powerful country in the world. We can't dispute that. So at the end of the day, I wouldn't want us to fold our hands and say that, what, provide for us. But I also wouldn't want African countries to say, hey, we want to be legitimate and have our own ultimatum, so we are not going to deal with Americans. No. I want you to make sure that you make plans that will benefit you, as well as it will also hold up your own legitimacy or authority as a sovereign country or a sovereign continent. That, I want that for Africa. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Kujo. You stress once again the issue of legitimacy and leadership and governance, okay, which happens to be something that we would like to give some time to in the second segment of our discussion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and especially those of you who may have just joined us, this is the People's Talk Show. The People's Talk Show is a part and parcel of the People's News Africa. It is that platform that teaches you Africa's history, our culture, politics, and inheritance. For today's discussion, we've been looking at what can Africa expect from the forthcoming Joe Biden regime. So thank you so much that you've made it your business to be a part of today's discussion. My name is D. Kafuna Seyinentu. I've been speaking to you from Liberia, and this discussion is made very successful through the contribution of Kabbalah from DR Congo, Kujo from Ghana, and Isopan from Nigeria. Gentlemen, once again, I'd like to welcome you to the second segment of our discussion. Kabbalah, I would just like to say that while it's true, the Biden Harris forthcoming regime owe so much debt to the to African Americans and other people of color, but they do not owe anything for Africa. Rather, it is African leaders who are expected to, or we Africans are expected to hold our leaders accountable. And that means they have to be very serious in terms of handling issues that are very crucial for Africa development. So what kind of approach or new system can we adopt that can help to increase investment, that can help lead to job creation, that can create wealth and income for the local population, and that can empower Africans, other than aspiring to promote or to strengthen relationship between the US and China? What is it we want from this country that we cannot devote our time to and to ensure that we have it done? So I just want you to try to explore all the potential possibilities that you think we can concentrate our effort in building and ensuring that we have done here home, or than focusing on broadening or strengthening relationship with different kinds of countries around the world.
Thank you so much, Kafina, for your question. First of all, I want to say that in reality, African leaders owe nothing to their populations, even though we go through elections where we elect the people in positions of leadership. In reality, they don't owe us anything because we elect them. But remember, we didn't select them. You know, there are two things. One is you electing a leader. Another thing is you selecting a leader. And in reality, the one who selects a candidate is the one who gives a mission to that particular candidate. It's the one who identifies some kind of skills or potential in that candidate, and he selects him by giving him a mission to accomplish. So as we get people that are presented to us by the media, we didn't know them before they were presented to us by the media. We didn't know nothing about them, and then we just elect them. So the good thing to understand is Africa, we don't control our money. You see, we come to campaign looking for votes and presenting all these projects that we have. But where do we find the fundings in order to implement those projects? We get the funding from these superpower countries, as Kuju just mentioned. For instance, from the United States through bilateral collaboration or through the IMF or the World Bank, which are the institutions at the hands of the capitalist monopoly, of the United States or United States of America or or of the Europe. Excuse me. That's where we get the fundings in order to implement our political projects. So that's fundamentally what explains why African leaders seem to be not owing something to their, to their citizens, even though we seem to elect them. But the problem is that they get the, the funds to run the programs, from the World Bank, from America or from France or from European countries, which it definitely makes them to be accountable to them and makes them to be willing to do things that they have to do according to what policy that is being outlined by the America. That's why you see all these things about international policy and stuff like that, which most of cases they don't profit African people at the grassroots level. So what can we do as a as a different system that can help us? Because the first thing that we have to make, even though we need to have a jobs, we need to have service deliveries, we need to have electricity, all these things that we need, that we want politicians to do for us, we must be able to make them accountable to us, not accountable to external forces. And one of the things that we can begin by doing is to sponsor our politicians when they run for for elections or for leadership position in the country or within the government. One of the things that we can do, we have to sponsor their campaigns. By sponsoring their campaigns, we will be able to give them an agenda that we want them to accomplish, to engage with them, in a very honest discussion that this is what we want you to do for us. And we will support your campaign. We will support your your overall campaign in terms of finance. But the problem is that African people want solutions, but they don't really want to ask what kind of sacrifices has to be taken in order to have the solution that we want implemented. That's one thing that we are stuck with, is because we don't want to take risks. And most of the times we feel proud to participate into elections because it's one of the easiest way that we can participate into political change that has to take place in our countries. It's one of the easiest and one of the laziest way, because you just have to walk out of your house, go and then and obviously cast your ballots and cast your vote, sorry, and that's it, and you go home. And for that, you think that you have done something fundamentally to change the system in which we are living today. And that is not a big sacrifice because we don't want to go through the hard way, or through the difficult way. So we must begin to sponsor our politicians, those whom we have trust, those in whom we have trust. We have to sponsor them, for example, because we can have somebody who is honest, who want to do something good, but it's being sponsored by this maybe the NGO that is created or that is coming from Italy. And by giving him the funds for him to run his campaign, they will give him, there will always be terms and conditions on how you can qualify to get a loan and what you have to do. So in that case, that leader, particular leader, even though we have elected him, he's not going to be accountable to us, and he's not going to do things that we expect him to do. So that's the first thing that we have to do, is make our politicians accountable. And if we do that, we might be able to expect them to do things that can create jobs, that can alleviate the difficult conditions that people are living with, that can reduce the level of extreme poverty within the society, and that definitely that can help the society to take off from its current condition. That's one thing that we can do, and that also can help us to kind of become independent from hegemony of the superpowers, because those are the ones who, as I said, who funds the campaign, our campaigns. Who even there are even countries in Africa who, when they go to election, they don't have just the money to organize elections, so they have to get money, they have to get loans from the European Union in order to run the election. That has been the situation in the Congo, for example, for the past elections, except the recent election, which the Congolese government itself stood up and funded the overall electoral process by itself, by buying machines and all these computers that had to be used for the elections to take place. So that is one thing that I think, if we have to look at it in a different perspective, we might be able to begin a significant change in our political system. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kabbalah. Kujo, from the recent wave of the US election, we've seen how even the strongest democracy in the world, such as that of the United States of America, governance system can be tested when you have a kind of poor leadership in place. We've seen that, but unlike Africa, the US, for instance, have very strong institutions, very strong political institutions that provide for people to go to the ballot and elect new leader, reject previous leader who are not demonstrating any political leadership, and all those kinds of stuff. Have very strong institutions that are working. So there is no way that any individual can come and feel that he can manipulate the system. But back home in Africa, we have these institutions that are just like kind of structures that have been put in place, but then it's being controlled by another group of people behind glare. And that's why most people always think and believe that democracy does not work for Africa. Do you believe that the institutions we build, the institutions that we use to administer the governance system serve us better to provide the right public goods and services that are needed to transform the lives of people? Like Kabbalah talked about poverty reduction, increasing wealth, eradicating diseases and different kinds of stuff.
Thank you very much, my brother. I think it's a great question. Now, I know a lot of people talk about, getting rid of that, getting rid of this. Personally, I have not seen any type of governance that's better than democracy. The reason why I'm saying that is all the other types does not provide the requisite limitations on the leaders to kind of hold them a little bit accountable, just a little bit. If that limitations and checks and balances are not there, then definitely authoritarian and those kind of governance is bound to take place. I know that democracy is not something that Africa introduced to themselves or Africa emanated from Africa, but it was introduced to Africa by these imperialists. But at the end of the day, I think the fundamental problem that we have is being honest to ourselves. Under no circumstance, no system of governance will work if we are not honest to ourselves. I'm talking about the leaders all the way down to to the servants. Each and every one of us must be ready to sacrifice and be honest to ourselves. At the end of the day, I was thinking about this some few days ago, right? Let me tell you something. I know we always talk about Africa, and this leader do not want to give up power. This leader do not want to, transfer power in the peaceful and legitimate manner. Do you really think if Trump was a president in Africa, what is happening in some of the African countries will not happen? The guy does not want to give up the power, even though legitimately he lost. All right. So at the end of the day, even in states that there are Republican governors, Republican officials, they have certified these elections to what? To the winner, which is the president-elect, Joe Biden. But Trump does not agree. If this was in Africa, it would have been chaos. All right. So at the end of the day, you are right. Our institutions need to be better, but we have to be honest to ourselves. There are some Republicans in this country that are saying and certifying the result, even against the president's maneuvers to overturn the result. Remember, they are the same party, but these officials are saying we did not see any massive fraud. We did not see any irregularities, and so we are certifying the result. And some of these problems has been even raised all the way to the Supreme Court and has been slapped down. This is the situation. We have to be honest, and trust me, the Supreme Court has 6 Republicans and 3 Democratic judges, making 9. Which means if they were to toe party lines, Trump should overturn these elections. But it's not happening. They are going by the book, by the principles, by the Constitution set by what? By the forefathers. If this is what we do as Africans, let the rule of law take its place, then we will be better. We have to be honest to ourselves. We have to deal with our fellow brothers honestly. Hey, I'm not going to put square pegs in round holes just because this person is my party member or this president is from my party. Then our democracy will not go anywhere. If the president decides to maneuver his way to get another term, and then maneuver and change the Constitution to favor him to run again and intimidate, and then get another term, then democracy is not gonna grow. But at the end of the day, we have to understand. We have to be honest to our institutions and our Constitution so that this system works. We can make it work for ourselves if we do it right for ourselves. If we don't do that, then we will keep complaining that, hey, democracy is not from us because it's from the imperialists. It's not going to work for us. No, we can do it in such a way. We can put the system in such a way that it works for us. First and foremost, by being honest to ourselves. If we do that and let the rule of law permeate in all our institutions, it will work perfectly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kujo, for your very interesting contribution, talking about upholding the rules of law and all of it. Now, Isopan, most times when I'm in gathering, and especially immediately after the U.S. election, I listen to a lot of people say that the U.S. election has shown or will show Africa a major lesson as to how a sitting president who does not perform in his first regime uh, will likely not be elected when he's contesting for the second regime. But for me, I believe strongly that that is not a new lesson, or that will not be a new lesson, or that will not even be a lesson for Africa, because we've had examples of leaders who underperformed, and because of that, they did not gain the trust, the confidence, and the legitimacy of the electorate for re-election. For example, we saw the instances of Ghana, John Mahama. We saw that of Nigeria, Goodluck Abedinton Jonathan. We saw that in Malawi, Joyce, the president there. Okay, all of them served for one term, excluding where they serve as vice president, ending the regime of the previous president that they served as vice president on before. And now we also see similar things yet happening in Liberia. For example, the current administration is gradually becoming very unpopular. Masurado, that used to be the stronghold of the current administration, they are losing their grips. The recent senatorial election was seen as the preliminary results from the senatorial election is unfolding. The opposition party seems to be in the lead. And we also see that happening in other counties across the country, where the current administration, they are losing their grips. Do you think that is sending a very strong message across to our political leaders that, hey, you need to be aware of something that you are not doing? Because when the time comes, we're going to vote you out of office. I remember one of you talking about the issue of check and balances, and then showing that the electorate go back to the ballot box to elect new leaders and to ensure that all those who are underperforming will not have a second chance to misabuse the opportunities that they had before. What exactly do you think we can begin now erecting, and what kinds of structure we can begin looking at that send very clear message across our society that, hey, enough is enough?
Thank you, Mr. Kafina. The issue of we looking at looking up to America concerning the way they run their electoral system shouldn't be of our concern. I've actually come to a stage in my life where, excuse my language, I don't give a damn anymore what the outside world think about blacks, or how they talk about us, or what they think that we should be. We are loud because we have energies. We do not possess the same character or mindset with others. Yeah, the white like to sit down and sip their tea in quiet. We like to drink our beer and be loud. This is how we hang out. What we want is not the same thing as they enjoy McDonald's. We enjoyed our roadside local dishes. Our way of politics should not be the one that has to emulate a foreign entity. The only thing that I want for Africa is that African government should stand up, put proper infrastructures in place, give the citizens of their country the opportunity to build a good life for themselves, the opportunity to grow and educate their kids properly, give them healthcare security. This is what we want. We don't need to have the same living system with them. They like their quiet, we like our noise. In Africa, when I'm at home, if my house is too quiet, I come out to find out what's going on. Because it's not normal that I'm at home, I'm not hearing any noises from outside or anywhere. Something must be wrong. So we should not apologize for who we are or the way we live, or try to change who we are to please other people, to crave for the acceptance of the outside world. Who is craving for our acceptance? Who is hiring our workers outside of Africa and giving our contractors contract to come build road, bridges, or whatever outside of Africa? Why do we keep depending on what the West do? How they do how their engineering, their healthcare system, their politics go? We want to go that same way. They've created a system that favors them because of who they are. We need to create a system that favors us the way we are, the way we live. Understand? We shouldn't stop eating our spicy food because Europeans hate spice. Or tell me not to put pepper in my food because Europeans don't eat pepper. So we should stop emulating these people. There was a program that shows that was asking the question, what makes the white more superior? And nobody could give the answer. It was just a state of mind that they created. There's not been any feed known to mankind that it has been proven that blacks couldn't excel in that feed. If you can name one particular feed known to mankind and said blacks couldn't do this is what made them superior, then I will accept it. We've proven our geniuses in every field, from engineering to medicine to sport. We hold the highest scores in Oxford, Harvard, and Yale universities. So I don't know why we still believe we need to look up to the Western system of politics or wait for their acceptance. Oh, Donald Trump mentioned Ghana. He mentioned Ghana in his speech. Oh, that is very exciting. Really? It is, I see it as an insult. African, we have made a lot of gain. And our democratic system, according to your question, is working fine. Not perfect yet. We've seen people who've been in power, who've served one term, lost an election, and stepped down peacefully. We've also seen people who amended the constitution to enable them to remain in power. And when they talk about, we mentioned gender equality before, which all the focus is mostly on Africa, gender equality. But when you look at the African cabinet, from Cape Town to Cairo, we have more women in power and in position than any other continent in the world. So we should stop proving ourselves to them. They can live in their dream world about their creative fantasies about Africa, while we keep our head down, keep our hustling going, and keep building. Until one day they realize that Africa has become too big a giant that is out of their control. If we keep looking for validation from the West, we're not going to go anywhere. Oh, how do they see me? How do they see me? How is my neighbor looking at me? I don't care how my neighbor is looking at me. As long as I can keep my house in order, I can feed my wife, take care of my kids. That's what's important to me. So Africa should stop looking at what the West. We should stop copying the West. This is one thing I love about Nigerians, especially Nigerian celebrities. You've seen how they've embraced our culture and traditional ways, and how African traditional clothes is very popular in the Nigerian culture. This is one thing that gives me pride. And these are the things that we should emulate and try to get better at. We should stop waiting for the validation of the outside world. We do not live for them, because certainly they do not live for us. So we should keep our head down, keep doing what we're doing, keep making our gains. They can criticize us or make whatever kind of comment they want to make on TV about us. It's none of our business. They have their media, they can manipulate it and say whatever they want to say. As long as we keep our heads down and keep building the Africa for our future. And we shouldn't build Africa to look like Europe or to look like America. We should build Africa to look like Africans, the way we truly are. Africa that represents our culture and our true existence. This is the Africa that we should all aspire to build.
Thank you so much, Isopan. Building Africa for ourselves and not for anyone else. That's a very sound conclusion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, like the saying goes, every good thing has to come to an end. This is how we are gradually drawing down our curtains. But before we do so, I'd like to once again remind our dear listening audience that this is the People's Talk Show, and the People's Talk Show is a part and parcel of the People's News Africa. The People's News Africa is that platform that enlightens you about Africa's history, our culture, our inheritance, our politics, and we promote the pride and dignity of Africa. So it's by no mistake that you've joined us today. Today we've been investigating the topic that says, what can Africa expect from the forthcoming regime of Joe Biden, President-elect of the United States of America? And we've been having this discussion with my distinguished colleague, Isopan, Kujo, and Kabbalah. My name is D. Kapuna Seinendu. Gentlemen, this is the final segment of our conversation, and I would just like to pose to each of you a quick questions that I would like you to talk about briefly as you are also going to, or as you also like to include your concluding or your parting comments. Now, one of our audience, one of our listeners here, talk about the issue of Africa uniting and defending their borders. Okay, now, other than seeking legitimacy, like it has been sounded across the conversation here, what if Africa should come together and forge ahead? I've read so many brilliant policy documents that we've crafted. For example, across the West Africa Bill, where we are talking about introducing this eco currency. Across Africa, we've talked about the continental free trade. And we have so many good programs and policy that when we put our foot to the ground and say, gentlemen, we have to ensure that this is done. Africa is going to be the next paradise that everyone will want to come to visit. How important it is for Africa to unite in 2 minutes, Kudo.
Well, thank you very much, my brother. I think this idea, you know, has been around from the first president of Ghana, His Excellency Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who wanted to unite Africa and bring Africa together so we can fight our own battle and, you know, mitigate, find solutions to our problems. I think in this day and age, we have come sort of very far with respect to, you know, having the imperialists having so much power into our system and our individual countries. There are so many countries that are still tied to their imperialists in such a way that it cripples their economy, and it makes it sort of makes it scary for them to sort of part away or cut the cord, so to say, of these imperialists, because they know that the system is so much deep and their hands are so much deep into their economy and their system that if they cut it, there's a fear of the country collapsing. And when it comes to that, leaders become reluctant and feel that, you know what, we cannot do it with them, but we can contain them and be fine. And so coming together and forging ahead with one accord and one spirit and one mindset that we will be for ourselves, by ourselves, is a little bit difficult. And more so, these imperialists have a hand in it when a leader comes up and decide to fight, to unite, because they know it will be at the detriment of them when it comes to their economy. All right, look at what happened in Libya. All right, Libya was one of the greatest countries in Africa. Like, they were doing great. But as soon as the leader decided, you know what, let's try to find one currency for Africa so African countries can trade with that currency and not the dollar, what happened? And right after his assassination, Libya began to deteriorate. And now it's worse. Okay? So with that example that they make out of some leaders, some of our leaders becomes reluctant. Some of our leaders kind of have at the back of their mind, if I stand up against them, this may happen to me. And so I'm not gonna do it. But at the end of the day, I think the only way to do it is for us, all of us, having the understanding that our destiny is one. And that if one country fails, every country has failed. All right? Because at the end of the day, what was done to some of these leaders that tried to bring Africa together, that were overthrown and assassinated, impact all other countries that want to do the same. So even though it's one country that has fallen, all other countries has been what? Put on notice. So unless we come and say that, okay, no matter what happens, we have to be each other's keeper, which means if any Francophone country decide, I'm not gonna pay France anymore, even though I'm independent right now, I'm not gonna pay any remittance to France anymore yearly based on our yearly accounts or yearly budget. I'm not gonna do that anymore. Then all African countries must support that country, because then France will try to cut off, okay, your free shipment, your free port, and all these things, we are now gonna charge you. They will do whatever it takes with policies to cripple that particular country. And that is why that accounts to some of the fears of these countries trying to cut the cord with their imperialists. But if all African countries will say, okay, cut it and we will be there for you, cut it and we will trade with you, cut it and we will help with your economy, we will fight as one people, then it will bring some sort of a cushion for their fall, so that they can be able to stand on their feet and also rebuild their economy. Because you and I, what we know is just the surface, but to the deep, there are a whole lot of issues that cross up if you try to cut the cord. So it is upon all of us. We all have to come together and understand, if it affects one country, it is affecting us. No matter what the policies that will be implemented against this particular country that is cutting the cord, we will stand with the country. It will be rough. We will go through some hard time, but we will come out of it. Like our brother Kabbalah said, we have to be willing to pay the price. To what? To do whatever we need to do to be able to come out successfully and be more powerful economically, socially, politically, in any sense that you want to put it. That's my point. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kujo. Isopan, I would like you to try to address one of our listeners' comments, if you will, that we have on our stream. No sovereignty, no one unity currency, no freedom, no one single continent. They will kill all leaders trying to unite the continent.
That's from Kama Ibrahim. Yeah, we have sovereignty. That is for sure. Unit currency, one unit currency that we are working on. And freedom, we have freedom. But what we're doing with the freedom is with a question mark. We have freedom, and some of our people are sellouts. The problem we have is not that we do not have brilliant minds who want to do the right thing or who can do the right thing. We do. The problem we have is the Judas amongst us. Those who have sold us out to the infidels for self-enrichment. These are our problems. It's not because Africans lack leadership. No, we have a lot of brilliant minds, but the corrupt ones amongst us have betrayed us. Our own brothers and sisters have betrayed us and sold us out to our enemies. This is the problem that we're facing. And African youth have woken up tremendously. It is no longer business as usual. The only problem that we're still facing is how to change our government and put the right people in place. If you are really constant in social media, you will see that African youths have woken up. They know what's going on. They know what they want. We are no longer that pawn which the outside world can manipulate and use at will. But I hope that this awakening in the Africa, there was a, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to say this. It's going to take a little bit of time. Someone was talking about the selling of Africans selling themselves into slavery during the time. That was what the West were using to justify their barbaric, evil, despicable acts. And a lady was asking, if it is true, then how come we were waging war? How come Obavorama of Benin waged 2 wars against the British and was sent it to Ezra? How come Shaka Zulu? How come these heroes were waging war if they were willingly trading their people with you? Why did you come with so much ammunition into Africa if these people were willingly selling themselves to you? Why did our kings go to war with you if they were really selling us to you? So they should be in business. So when you look at the issue, even when they describe Africans as monkeys and barbarians living in the bushes, but from Benin Kingdom alone, they looted over 4,000 artifacts spread across Germany, France, UK. So this barbaric bush nature kind of people created this fine art that people now enjoy in their museums. So if you put their stories together, it never fits. They created this narrative to make us feel inferior and make us feel like they came to save us from our barbaric selves. So we will create unity in Africa, and we are working on it. The most important thing is to create free borders and take away border taxation. That will increase economic and financial growth in the African continent. They want to emulate what? Emulate Europe. Border-free taxation, free border. So emulate them. Why are we not taking the good part of Europe?
Well, thank you so much, Isopan and Kabbalah. I would just like you to take a minute and see if you can comment on Kamil Ibrahim, where he said, "We must fight to be independent no matter what."
Yes, indeed. That is the ultimate goal for all Africans. There is nothing in the middle, or there's nothing as a middle line. There's only 2 positions. You either slave or you are free. You either in charge or you are not. So these are 2 positions that we have ahead of us as African people. And the time in which we're living today is a time of extreme danger and opportunity. And our chance of survival will depend on what kind of actions that we implement today. What kind of decisions, first of all, and what kind of actions come after decisions. And that way we will have to definitely define our future, whether we disappear as dinosaurs or we survive in the danger of this time and we end to our future generation a hope and a stake for the leadership and for for leadership and the prosperity, so to say. So it's very important that we must fight because independence is something that we do not have. What we have now is Africans who want to identify themselves with their former colonial, which is not truly independence. So independence, it will be the time that we look at ourselves as African people, as capable of doing for ourselves what we have depended on other people to do for us for a long time. That's where will come really, really the meaning or the sense of independence of Africa. And precursor to that, it's unity. It's very important that we must unite in order to create that framework of independence. The major challenge that Africa is still facing right now is because we are still seeking after individual solutions. For example, South Africa, they are still looking for solutions to South African problems. Congo, we are still looking for solutions to Congolese problems, same as Nigeria, Ghana, and the rest of the continent. And in reality, when you look at it, there's no solution. That's what I'm always saying to people. There's no solution for Congo. There's no solution for South Africa. There's no solution for Nigeria, even though we might perceive our problems as individual problems, but there's no solution to these particular regional countries. There's only one solution, and that is African solution. Unless we address African solution, we won't be able to solve our individual problems. We must be able to consider Africa as a pig or a cow. For you to have a bacon from a pig, you must kill it first so that you can have a piece of bacon. That's the same thing that happened to Africa. It was killed firstly entirely as Africa. It was destroyed. The soul of Africa was destroyed before we have what we call today individual countries. So we cannot restore or we cannot find a solution to these individual countries unless we address the holistic solution that we need, which is African solution. These things of countries that we are defending, even of the borders that we are protecting, is serving the devil who destroyed us. Because, for instance, as far as I know, there's no one single African forefather or ancestor who created the concept of countries that we have today or the borders that we have today. It's not the creation of us African people, it's not the creation of our ancestors. Therefore, protecting these things created by our enemies is contributing to the works of our enemies. That's one thing that African people never understood. Unless we understand that and then begin to imagine today something of our own. How do we want to redefine the face of Africa? And to add to that, in order to finish, changing the borders, physical borders, is not the first solution. It's not going to bring anything major unless we address the psychological borders that we have erected in our minds. Then the physical borders will mean something if we change it. If we haven't changed this one, nothing that we change physically will make sense to our problems and our predicaments. And I salute all the Africans all over the world that have been listening to us today. It's always been a pleasure to serve you and to be in discussion with you. Peace and power and blessing to you, Black family. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kabbalah. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank each and every one of you who have made it your business to watch this particular discussion this evening. It has been the production of the People's Talk Show. The People's Talk Show is a part and parcel of the People's News Africa. It is that platform that seeks to discuss issues ranging from Africa's history, our politics, our culture, our inheritance, and what exactly we can do to ensure the growth and development of Africa. This discussion has been made very successful through the contribution of my distinguished colleagues, Kabbalah from DR Congo, but is based in South Africa, and Kujo from Nigeria and is currently based in the US, and Isupa from Nigeria, who is also based in Germany. Sorry, Kujo is from Ghana and is currently based in the US. My name is D. Kafina Seinetu, and the next time you see us again will be next week, Saturday, when we shall come your way with a very brand new topic, and we'll be looking forward to engaging with you. Thanks to all those who have made it their business to contribute through their text messages and their comments. We highly appreciate it, and we look forward to engaging you next week Saturday. Have a very good weekend, and we wish you all the best. Bye bye.